So I've got a bit of a problem. I'm in the middle of nowhere in Oregon. I think I'm 12 miles from the next city, and I just ran out of water. And I'm at high altitude, and I'm getting delirious. So this is gonna get interesting. just ran out of water. Oh, the journey is over. 4,394 miles on the bicycle, and then a good week of family vacation. And I got back into town this morning, and now it's back to regular life. So I'm going to do another eating challenge of some sort to sort of finish off this episode. And then that'll be the end of season 1 of Rome. So I made it to Bend, Oregon, spent some time with my family, and now I am going to close out season 1 with an at-home food challenge. I wish I could make a lasagna that looks this good, but this is a Stouffer's lasagna, and it is exactly 6 pounds. So I'm going to eat this, I'm going to take my time with it, I'm not going to get too crazy, and I'm going to maybe have some closing thoughts, and I'm going to roll some credits. So we're going to do this, and that will close out the first season. Starting time is 4:39. Here we go. So Jared asks, how far are you traveling overall for the series? And I declared my destination reached once I got to the top of the Pilot Butte. And at that point, my odometer reached 4,394 miles. So I rode a little further after that, but I considered that to be the end of the line. So 4,394. Abe asks, do you use an app to find all the bike paths we see you on? And I pretty much just exclusively use Google Maps, the bicycling directions that are available on Google Maps. And they're not perfect. They sometimes lead me on some gravel paths or just some paths that aren't very good for bicycling, but in like 95% of the cases, 95% of the time, it gets me exactly where I need to go in the most efficient time. Chilltownify asks, whatever really happened in Newark, New Jersey? I need more details on the drama you encountered. So if you didn't see the episode, what I did was I did a food challenge in Northampton, Pennsylvania, and then I rode my bike from there to New York City in one night. So over the course of about a 24-hour period, I rode my bike about 140 miles, 135, 140, and then a few miles on the path train. But what I encountered at about 5 a.m., just right around the time when the sun was about to rise, I came up to a construction site on my path. I was about 25 miles from Manhattan, and I came up to a construction site, and I was like, dang it, I'm gonna have to turn around and find a new way. But then I realized it looks like there's a sidewalk that's open. So I start walking the bicycle over the sidewalk, and I'm almost 3/4 of the way across. So that's when I saw that behind me there's a guy who's getting close. He's walking faster than I am, and he's getting really close to me. And then I notice he's starting to jog. And then I'm like, okay, this can't be good. I say, hey, what's going on? And then he said something to me in Spanish that I couldn't understand. I thought I heard "Donde está?" meaning where is, but I couldn't make out anything else. And he got to within about 3 or 4 feet of me. So yeah, he never touched me, never got to the point where we were throwing fists or anything like that. But he got to within a few feet of me before I started pedaling, and by that point, I mean, he was just jogging, so he couldn't catch up to me on the bike. So I kind of just rode for about 5 minutes, just in a straight line from there, and just didn't look back. and then I got into kind of a busy street, so then I was okay. But that's the point that I decided, you know what, I shouldn't be out here right now. I need to just get on the PATH train and go over to New York City in a safer way. So that's what I did, and I didn't get into the city until it was like 7 a.m. when I finally got into Lower Manhattan. But it was an ordeal. Nothing happened of it though, so that's the most important thing, and that's definitely the best possible outcome, is to not get into a fisticuff. So Arcana asks, favorite challenge of the series? That's a good question. I would say my favorite was the Crazy Crepe in Long Island. I just love variety. I love the variety of a food challenge. Just when I'm eating casually at home, just on a Saturday binge, I like to have a lot of variety in what I eat. So that one was really good. You don't get flavor fatigue, and just every part of that food challenge is really good. So Mongo asks, in one of the earlier episodes, you were on a trail for a bit, and then you came to a closed construction sign. Did you have to backtrack or just go around and take a chance? How long of a delay was that? So that was in Maryland, and it wasn't too far along the path. I was about a mile and a half into the path, so I turned around, and luckily just through my navigation system I was able to find a street that would let me go around. So it only set me back about a half mile, and I'd say in total it cost me maybe 10 minutes of my time, so it wasn't too big of a deal. Christian asks, how did you acquire the nickname the Mantis? Does it have anything to do with your eating style? I did a hot dog eating contest in 2012, and they said you need a nickname for this. So I was kind of just randomly trying to figure out something. And if you've seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, there was this episode where Frank, Danny DeVito's character, tries to get the other guys to start calling him Mantis. And it's a really funny episode. I think it's from season 5, called The Dentist System. And I just thought that Danny DeVito was hilarious in that show, and I just thought it was really funny. And a mantis is an animal that has a voracious appetite, so I thought that was just fitting. So I got it from Always Sunny. So Chilltownify asks, did you run into any gators down in Florida? Unfortunately not. It would have been really cool to see some gators. The most exotic wildlife I saw, I think I showed a moose earlier in this episode, and just some interesting birds and some wild iguanas in Florida. So that's about as exciting as the wildlife got. No bears. Todd Anderson asks, I didn't start watching your journey from the beginning. What is your goal or objective? So the biggest goal of this is just to have a good time, meet some good people, and just be out on the road. I feel like I'm in my element when I'm out riding. And beyond that, just not too much. I just really like to go on adventures like this. So this is just an idea I've had starting a couple years ago. And then I did the Rome, California miniseries. Even before that, I did the Rome pilot episode. And it's just something I really like to do. It combines things I really like doing: traveling, food challenges, and bicycling. So yeah, no big overarching goals or anything. The biggest thing is just let's have a good time, let's have fun with this. CR asks, do you ever get denied a food challenge because of your reputation? And the answer is not really. I have beaten food challenges and been denied the cash payment though, because some challenges, some restaurants have this rule of no professional eaters are allowed to do this food challenge. There's no firm definition for what constitutes a professional eater though. So the whole philosophy is just bullshit, because what they're really trying to do is trying to keep anybody who is actually able to beat their food challenge from ever attempting it. So they want the upside of having the food challenge, which is you get people to pay a lot of money for a lot of food, and but they don't want the downside, which is having to pay it out when somebody can actually do it. So I have no respect for any restaurant that does that kind of thing. But yeah, I've never been denied the ability to just try a food challenge though. Daniel asks, ever thought of a food challenge while riding your bike? Well, I think you've given me an idea for another video, so we'll make that happen. Nigel asks, where do you stay at during this trip?
And there's a few different answers for that. So some of the episodes you saw, I was sleeping just in the forest. Forest is completely legal. National forests or state park forests, it's 100% legal to just do freelance camping there. And as long as you're not on anybody's private property, there's no problem with just camping randomly in a national forest like that. And I did that a good 20%, maybe more than that, maybe 30% of the time. I stayed in motels about 30 to 40% of the time. And the remaining 30% of the time, I stayed with people through this website called warmshowers.org. It's kind of like couch surfing, but for bicyclists. But yeah, I can put a link to that in the description. It's a pretty cool website. If you're a touring bicyclist, I suggest you check it out. So Nate writes, any plans on a New Hampshire trip in the future? Unfortunately, nothing concrete. I love New Hampshire, and I love that whole region with Maine and Vermont and stuff. And I've only done one food challenge in New Hampshire. But it's hard for me right now to plan anything concrete. So I'll get to that in a minute with the next season of Rome. But unfortunately, nothing solid in the works right now. So Todd asks, why tofu of those choices? This is in reference to the ex-wife burrito challenge I did in Fort Lauderdale. And the short answer is too much meat can make my stomach hurt the next day. I go into some detail into that, some unnecessary detail, you could say, on episode 32. And I also generally just don't eat meat when I have the choice to not do that. So like when I'm at home, just doing a Saturday binge, I usually don't eat any meat. It's just by choice. I usually abstain. Brian asks, is there going to be season 2 of Rome, and will you be doing more eating cereal episodes? So regarding the eating cereal episodes, I'm going to start up with those as soon as I'm done with this next series I'm doing, and I'm going to get into that in a bit. That's a bit of a surprise, but it's called The Quest for Five, so you can think about what that might be, and then that first episode is going to drop early in 2018. And then the other question is there going to be a season 2 of Rome? And I would love for there to be a season 2 of Rome. I got kind of nervous. I'm nervous about what happened in Miami when I got sick the day after eating that giant burger, because this is something that I'm just becoming increasingly skittish about, is if I'm going to get sick every time I eat a giant amount of beef, that's really going to hinder my food challenge. So there will be a season 2 of Rome if I can be certain to a pretty good degree that I'm not going to get sick anymore. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to do that. And, every eater has a finite career. So, but yeah, hopefully I get to that point where I have that confidence. Taking off work will also be a struggle. I know the 3 months I took off for this was kind of tough, a tough sell. So, it's difficult to say that there's going to be another season, but I will do everything I can to make it happen. Austin asks, do you keep up with other competitive eaters while you're on the road, and do you get any time to train? So the eaters I met on the road during this past trip were Dan Kennedy, Darren Breeden, Michael Jenkins, and Nathan Figueroa. And it was great to meet up with all of them. I was hoping to meet up with Max Carnage in Oregon, but I unfortunately was very skittish the second leg of my trip in California about what might happen if I got sick again. And so I abstained from challenges in general when I was on the West Coast. While I'm on the road, I try to meet up with folks when I can. I'm kind of introverted, so I don't always reach out first. But I'm always interested in meeting up with folks on the road, and it's always a good time. And regarding the training, while I'm on the road, the eating is the training, and that's pretty much it. I don't do any water training. I actually don't do water training anymore. I used to do it years ago, but it just hurts too much, and I kind of plateaued. I never really got any better in terms of capacity after the first few months of that, so I don't do anything like that anymore. So yeah, really the only training I do anymore is just the eating challenges themselves. Nigel asks, how are your tires not properly pressurized? Were they under or over pressurized? So I've always had the habit of not pressurizing them high enough, and that's always been my difficulty. And I had tire problems the whole time, mostly because I was loading the back of the bike too much. I was so obsessed with the idea of not having to pay any extra bag fees on the airplane that I only had the 2 panniers in the back. It would have been a lot smarter if I'd gotten front panniers as well. And it just would have saved me a whole lot of headaches, a whole lot of flat tires. But yeah, I'm kind of a bigger guy in terms of bicyclists. I weigh 200 pounds, so it's a lot to put on these back tires. And so I just hadn't been pressurizing them high enough. Rathod asks, are you related to Diamond Dallas Page? Yes. Guerra asks, after doing a food challenge, do you usually head back to bicycling, or what do you do after a big challenge? If I can, I get right back on the bike and go to wherever I'm headed. There have been times, though, when it was just too much food and I could hardly pedal the bike. That actually happened in Virginia. It was a giant omelet challenge that I ate. And I tried to get on the bike after that, and it was 90 degrees outside, and it was just miserable, especially with all the cars, the hot cars around me, and the concrete. It was just making it miserable. So I ended up going into a library for like 2-3 hours just to let it digest. And then by about evening time, I got back on the road and started bicycling. So it's really just a matter of how I'm feeling. If I can, I ride, and if not, I just rest for a while. So Dave the Drum Major asks, are you riding your bicycle to Miami or doing a bit of driving also? So at the beginning of each episode, I say X number of miles traveled. And when I say traveled, that is how much I have ridden on the bicycle. So anything beyond that, I don't count towards that total. And I got those numbers just from taking pictures of my odometer at the end of each day. So, yeah, I've got the odometer on the bicycle, and in total, I rode 4,394 miles. The amount of help I got was probably around 100 miles because I took the PATH train into New York City. Rose picked me up in Florida. I took a couple of ferries to get across waterways. So yeah, I had some help along the way, but that number 4,394 is the amount of miles I bicycled. Thopen asks, what is the point of wrapping that flag around your head? I mean, it's just my thing. People at restaurants seem to like it too. Sarah asks, how can we offer you challenges? So you can make any suggestions you want, and I'll maybe do them, maybe not. But yeah, I'm open to all ideas. AGW asks, how long did it take to eat the cat? How long did it take to eat the cat? How long did it take to eat the snake? How long did it take to eat the snakes? How long did it take to eat the birds? And how long did it take to eat the wild iguanas? And these are all good questions, but all done. That was real good lasagna, and yeah, that was pretty simple. That was 6 pounds of lasagna. That's not. Anyway, that is going to do it for season 1 of Rome. I really want to take some time to thank all the people who have watched all the episodes, commented on them, given me any type of feedback. I really appreciate that. And the question is, will there be a season 2 of Rome? I don't know, but I will do whatever I can to make it happen. And that'll do it from Ohio.